Number 10, Azrael. Jean-Paul Valley's time as Batman hits you like the moment you open a soda can and it explodes everywhere. You don't walk away mad at the soda, you're mad because you didn't ask for this chaos. That's how many readers felt when DC dropped Jean-Paul into the cowl during Nightfall. He first appeared in Batman's Sword of Azrael in 1992 as this tragic brainwashed crusader raised by a secret order. As an ally, he worked. As Batman, not so well. Once Bane destroyed Bruce's spine, the editors rushed Jean-Paul into the suit, and the tone didn't shift so much as it swerved into the wall. Overnight, the new Batman became a walking weapon rack with claws, flames, plates, blades, basically if a Swiss Army knife went through puberty. On top of that, his personality swung between guilt-ridden rookie and unhinged zealot thanks to the system, which is a mental programming that controlled him. Every time he tried to act like Batman, the programming yanked the steering wheel. Fans didn't just pull away because he acted rough, they pulled away because his style clashed with everything the mantle stood for. He leaned into fear, intimidation, and nearly lethal force. Bruce had always been the guy who used his brain first and gadgets second, while Jean-Paul looked like he brought the whole catalog. What I think makes it even worse is that the art of the early 90s doubled down on huge armor and sharp edges, so the new Batman felt like a parody of himself. People were counting the days until Bruce came back, and when he finally returned to Night's End, it felt like Gotham exhaled. Jean-Paul stayed in the universe with later stories trying to repair his image, but the memory of the angry blender Batman years stayed glued to him. To be honest, for me personally, Jean-Paul wasn't the worst Batman. He just acted like the one who skipped the tutorial and stole all the boss weapons. Number 9, Kyle Rayner. Kyle Rayner arrived the way a surprise substitute teacher does. Nobody knew him, nobody trusted the situation, and the room was already on fire. When Emerald Twilight hit in 1994's Green Lantern number 48, Hal Jordan's grief spiraled into a destructive meltdown, murdering most of the Green Lanterns and Guardians. So one remaining Guardian handed the last working ring to Kyle, an easygoing LA artist who happened to be in the right alley at the right time. Fans saw this jump as a harsh pivot, and things got messy right away. Hal had been the face of the Corps for decades. Turning him into a cosmic threat named Parallax shook readers to their core, and Kyle felt like an emergency bandage slapped onto a broken dam. On top of that, Kyle's early issues didn't hide his inexperience. He was imaginative with his constructs, but he also carried that new guy on day one energy. Longtime readers weren't in the mood to babysit. His vibe was casual, creative, and very human, which clashed with the grand mythic tone Green Lantern stories usually carried. What I think makes it even worse is how unstable his path became. Writers boosted him up to major status, even letting him become Ion for a while. Then, years later, Green Lantern Rebirth rewrote Hal's fall, changed the lore around Parallax, and brought Hal back to center stage. Suddenly, Kyle's big wins felt less important, which frustrated fans who had stuck around. Over time, many readers grew to enjoy him for the imagination he brought to the ring and his emotional honesty, but the early backlash burned deep. Kyle wasn't hated for failing, he was hated for showing up during the franchise's loudest meltdown. So yeah, Kyle Rayner didn't steal the spotlight, he just happened to walk under it while the stage was collapsing. Number 8, Wally West. Wally West's history feels like watching your favorite TV show switch streams services every year. You love the character, but the constant moving, rewriting, and reshuffling make you crash out. After Barry Allen's death at Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8 in 1985, Wally stepped up as the Flash, and fans warmed up to him because he actually grew. He messed up, learned, matured, found love, built a family, and earned every bit of that lightning symbol. He wasn't the perfect saint. He was the guy who showed up early, stayed late, and cared about doing the job right. But it all went wrong when the New 52 arrived in 2011. The reboot didn't just push him aside, it wiped him off the map. Decades of stories, personal growth, and relationships vanished like your dad who left to buy milk. A different version of Wally appeared, and arguments exploded everywhere. Some fans felt the original had been replaced with no emotional honesty, while others accused critics of being stuck in the past. The debates were so loud that half the fandom looked exhausted, while I was there ready to throw my comic boxes. Then DC brought classic Wally back during Rebirth, and instead of peace, things got even noisier. Fans who fought for him cheered like the home team finally scored, while others groaned that the company was bending to nostalgia. On top of that, later stories handled him unevenly, bouncing between hope, guilt, and strange retcons that felt glued together at midnight. When Barry returned to full spotlight and Flashpoint rewired the universe again, Wally kept getting pushed around by the shifting rules of the franchise. By the end of all this, people weren't mad at Wally as a person, they were mad at the storm of editorial chaos stuck to his name. I really feel bad because Wally didn't start any fights, but he sure ended up holding the bill for all of them. Number 7, Bluebird. Harper Row entered Gotham the way someone barges into a crowded room with great energy, but the playlist has already been set. She first appeared in Batman Volume 2, Number 7 in 2012, and later suited up as Bluebird in Batman Number 28 in 2014. From day one, the Bat Family fan base was split, mostly because everyone was already touchy about the New 52 changes, and Harper showed up right in the middle of that storm. Her arrival hit the nerves tied to legacy. The Bat Family has always been protective of its roles, and Harper's early stories gave off a vibe that she might be stepping close to Robin territory. On top of that, Snyder gave her a slow, careful build meant to create anticipation, but the payoff felt uneven. She showed up across big arcs like Batman Eternal, got moments of spotlight, acted sharp and confident, then somehow drifted into the background before she had a chance to settle a long-term rhythm. Readers who felt invested like someone promised a big fireworks show and then lit only 2 sparklers. What I think happens is that it made it worse that her tone rubbed some readers the wrong way. Harper's scrappy punk tech energy clashed with the gothic detective mood many expected from Gotham. She wasn't brooding on rooftops, she was tinkering with wires and arguing with vigilantes. Some fans love that spark, but others felt she didn't fit, which is kinda wild because Gotham has room for a clown prince, a plant goddess, and a zombie cop. But somehow a girl with a toolkit was the line too far. Add in online pile-ins and echo chambers, and Harper became a character people judged long before she got the story she needed. In short, Bluebird not only crashed the Bat Family party, but she also showed up while everyone was already in a mood. Number 6, New 52 Superman. New 52 Superman hit shelves the way a rebooted app suddenly wipes all your saved settings. You open the page expecting comfort, and instead everything looks new, shiny, and slightly disrespectful to the stuff you actually liked. When New 52 launched, DC pushed a younger Clark into a 5 Years of Heroes timeline, and longtime readers felt the ground tilt under their feet. The Superman they'd follow through battles, marriages, friendships, and years of emotional history was pushed off stage before he even finished his last speech. The earlier version had depth built from decades. This one was still trying to figure out how to talk to people without sounding like he slept in his boots. On top of that, the tone was a sharp turn. New 52 Clark could be colder and more distant, sometimes acting like he was still checking the manual on how to be human. Scenes that once carried layers of shared history with Lois or the Daily Planet suddenly reset to early awkward beats. That shift frustrated readers who spent years watching him grow into a grounded, open-hearted figure. Then the creative teams kept switching and every title seemed to show a slightly different guy. Fans wanted a clear direction, but the book felt like 4 drivers arguing over the GPS. What makes it even worse is how the ending played out. When DC rolled out Rebirth and brought back more classic Superman with restored history, many readers welcomed them back but couldn't shake the feeling that the whole New 52 run had been a long detour. Years of mixed tone, lost milestones, and scattered character work left people drained instead of excited. New 52 Superman wasn't a bad guy, he just felt like the version of Clark who skipped all the emotional DLC. Number 5, Booster Gold. Booster Gold arrived to comics like someone sliding into a historic photo with finger guns and shades on. His debut in Booster Gold number 1 in 1986 introduced a hero who didn't chase justice first, he chased sponsorship deals, crowd approval, and a paycheck, something that I honestly relate to. Some readers found that funny, but others saw it as a loud interruption in the middle of a very serious superhero conversation. His time travel origin, stolen tech, and hunger for fame painted him as the guy you keep an eye on when expensive equipment goes missing. As the years went on, the mood around him swung like a broken ceiling fan. One month, he was comic relief. The next, he was carrying the emotional weight of 52, fixing timelines and losing people he cared about. Then he'd be back in another run acting like a sitcom character who borrowed a time machine for weekend errands. Some readers loved the chaos, but plenty felt like DC didn't know what they wanted him to be. Every time he gained respect, another story would send him tumbling back into that territory of annoying but lovable screw-up characters. What makes it even worse is the way his storylines often created consequences between him and other heroes. He'd hide things, fail at big moments, or make shady choices to protect the timeline. Writers usually circled back to show his heart was in the right place, but not everyone bought it. Fans who prefer stable, noble heroes had trouble warming up to someone who looked unreliable one arc and universe-saving the next. That whiplash made people wonder if they were supposed to laugh, cry, or send him to time out. By the time he popped in and out of later stories, he'd built a reputation that fans either adored or rolled their eyes at. Number 4, Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner shows up in comics like the guy who insists on shouting over everyone at trivia night. He was designed to be loud, brash, and impossible to ignore, and DC leaned into that all the way. First appearing in Green Lantern number 59 in 1986, he got a full 1980s makeover as the ultra-macho, belligerent, all-American Lantern. Some readers love that cartoonish charm, but for plenty of fans, it just comes off as obnoxious. When a character's identity is basically loud, entitled, and quick to punch, it's easy to get frustrated instead of rooting for him. What makes it worse is how editorial hands kept twisting him around. Over the decades, Guy's been everything from a backup Green Lantern to a Justice League member, barroom brawler, heroic screw-up, veteran suffering from trauma, and even a Red Lantern for a hot minute. Writers sometimes treat him as comic relief, sometimes as a pet rehabilitation project, and sometimes as a continuity patch. Readers who wanted a stable, legacy-respecting Green Lantern often saw him being whatever the story needed that month. And it didn't help that his bowl haircut made him easy to mock online. His personality also puts him at odds with the calmer, more measured Lanterns like Hal and Jon, which funnels some of the fan ridicule straight into his orbit. Fans either appreciate the chaotic energy or roll their eyes so hard it nearly breaks their skulls. Over time, that inconsistency cemented Guy as a character people love to tease, even when writers try to give him depth or heart. Number 3, Jason Todd. Jason Todd's reputation begins with a stunt that could only happen in the 1980s. DC literally letting readers vote on whether the new Robin should live or die. In Batman: A Death in the Family, Joker got the final say if Jason survived, and the hotline fans voted kill. The stunt immediately polarized readers. Some loved seeing the brat gone, while others felt the entire idea cheapened the emotional impact. Turning a character's life into a public popularity contest leaves a mark. Then came Resurrection Chaos. Jason returned decades later in Batman Under the Hood. He re-emerged as a brutal, vengeance-driven anti-hero who beat the Joker with a crowbar. Fans who remembered the vote felt blindsided. The character they'd lost returned through convoluted continuity hacks, and suddenly he was an angry foil to Batman rather than a redeemed ward. That twist created resentment that lasted for years. What I think makes it even worse is the tonal swing. Early Jason was impulsive and brash, traits that stick out in a sidekick. Post-return, he alternates between sympathetic trauma case, violent vigilante, and continuity gadget, depending on the writer's mood. Fans who prefer consistency or earned arcs often see him as messy, unnecessary, grimdark, or a storytelling patch instead of a hero with a clear path. Every time Jason appears, he brings decades of editorial experiments along for the ride, which keeps his fan reception, complicated. In the end, Jason Todd can dodge bullets, but he can't dodge decades of internet grudges. Number 2, Jon Kent. Jon Kent stormed into the Superman spotlight the way someone hits a board meeting with a new mission statement and a megaphone. He first appeared in Convergent Superman as a cameo, then spent years as Superboy alongside Damian, and by 2018, DC had him leap through interdimensional travel and emerge aged into a teenager. Fans who loved watching the Super Sons dynamic felt the time jump shoved organic growth out of the window. Suddenly, Jon was a ready-made Superman, polished, marketed, and readers noticed. It's hard to root for a character when they skipped all the awkward, relatable steps that make heroes earn their stripes. On top of that, Tom Taylor's Superman Son of Kal-El run framed Jon as a young hero who leans into activism in ways Clark never had, tackling migrants, climate issues, and government overreach. Some fans cheered the bold new direction, while others grumbled that political messaging was being shoved into the flagship character. That split lit up online debates like fireworks on the 4th of July, with each side defending principles or nostalgia. Then came the bisexuality reveal in Superman Son of Kal-El number 5, Jon publicly dating Jay Nakamura on National Coming Out Day. The announcement was a milestone for representation, yet it also stirred pushback from readers who saw it as sudden or editorially performative. Combine rapid aging, progressive heroics, and publicized coming out, and Jon became a lightning rod for both admiration and anger. Fans either embrace him as a fresh, socially engaged Superman, or rail him like DC shoved a corporate checklist into a cape. Number 1, Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne arrived ready to stir the Bat family pot, and DC leaned hard into that chaos. Grant Morrison introduced him in Batman number 655 as the son of Bruce and Talia, trained by the League of Assassins and written to be arrogant, savage, and socially tone deaf. Readers expecting a Robin in the mold of Dick or Tim found themselves face to face with a lethal brat who mocked, outwitted, and occasionally stabbed his way into stories. That intentional unpleasantness made Damian one of the most polarizing Robins before he even learned to tie his cape. What makes it even worse is the origin baggage. The idea that Talia drugged Bruce to conceive Damian left fans debating morality, consent, and narrative tone for years. Add in his high-profile death in Batman Incorporated number 8 and later Resurrection, and you get a character whose life feels like a roller coaster of editorial experiments. Kill, market grief, resurrect, repeat. On top of that, Damian reshaped Bat family dynamics. His lethal instincts, bloodline privilege, and bratty competitiveness disrupted the ensemble's warmth, creating friction where previously there was camaraderie. Fans who value the found family vibe saw him as a wedge, while others enjoyed the generational tension he brought. The pattern of controversial origin, deliberate misbehavior, death, and resurrection turned Damian into the perfect storm of structured, ongoing frustration for some readers. Damian Wayne may be small, but he's big enough to break and everyone's patience. That's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers and see you in the next one.